actually feel uncomfortable around too many white people. I find I'm bonding closer with the natives, the Alaska natives.
Really?
Yeah.
So, do you have a penchant for Native women who are homeless in crisis?
It's been called the memory card murder. A brutal homicide found on a stolen cell phone. The victim dying on a hotel room floor. The killer mocking her in a distinctive accent.
Face the camera, bitch.
There's, at one point, blood coming from both sides of her mouth while the killer is sexually molesting her.
He wasn't sexually molesting her. He was poking his fingers on her boob, okay?
Is that not sexual molestation in your mind?
It depends on the woman.
I've always suspected that some people aren't at all who they appear to be. To his wife, Brian Stephen Smith was a loving husband. To the Marriott hotel staff, he was a good colleague. To his mistress, he was a spinner of dark sexual fantasies. But to Kathleen Henry, an Alaska native living on the streets of Anchorage, Brian Stephen Smith was a stranger who offered a warm bed and then did something monstrous.
Good evening. We're learning more tonight about the weeks surrounding the hotel killing of 30-year-old Kathleen Henry.
39 photos and 12 videos show in graphic detail the final hours of a dark-haired woman. The SD card where the files were stored was labeled Homicide at Midtown Marriott.
She was like all beat up. I mean, her face was not even recognizable.
Hello.
Brian Stephen Smith was found guilty in February 2024 of murder, sexual assault, and misconduct involving a corpse.
How are we doing, guys?
We're set.
We're good? Okay.
And now, for the first time, he has agreed to tell me his story and to answer for these crimes.
Well, Brian, we're here because we really want to understand the mindset and motivations behind your actions in this case, okay? Tell me, why are you here today talking to us?
Because you asked me to.
You could have said no, but you agreed. Why?
Yes, yeah. Well, I have my side of the story as well that I'd like to get out.
You want to be heard?
Yes, I have to get something out on my side at least.
Smith's side starts when he met a woman who lived very far away from his native South Africa.
You had found love late in life with an older woman, right? Stephanie. Tell me about her.
Yeah, so we actually met playing a game on internet, and we became friends, and we started talking outside of the game.
Mama, he's crazy, crazy over me.
The folk singer from Anchorage fell hard and fast for Smith, just as his life hit rock bottom.
In South Africa, things actually got to a bit of a bad point. I'd gone into a business deal that just went sour, and I lost a lot of money. And it's almost like everything just made sense, you know, just pack up and leave. You got nothing to lose here anymore.
Take me back to the first time you stepped foot in this rather stunning land. What did you feel? What did you think?
Well, it was amazing. It's the first time I've been out of South Africa.
He's eating your plants.
With camera in hand, Smith took to the Alaskan wilds and began shooting videos.
This is the beaver dam. I don't know if this GoPro can pick it up, but there's a little beaver house over there.
It's very similar to Africa. You've got the civilized, and then you've got the whole ethnic, rural, indigenous side of things. People that are living in an absolute, totally different world to what we live in.
Are there many South Africans in the Anchorage area?
I think there's 2 or 3 or 4. There might be more, but
Maybe a handful.
Yeah.
It also seems like a good place for a secret life, if that's what you're looking for. Nobody knows you. There's lots of space. One could lose themselves in kind of withdraw from the world here if one wanted to.
Yes, you could. You're correct. You can go get yourself a little cabin and you never have to deal with humans again.
Right.
Yeah.
Whether Smith was looking for a second life or a secret one in Alaska, he struggled to fit into Stephanie's world.
Are you still married?
I signed the divorce papers about 2 months ago. Stephanie's a very social person. And she's got groups of friends that are in theatre and music. At first I thought, yes, I could do it. But then it was just too much for me. They were all trying to be nice.
Right.
But that did cause a bit of problem with us. Yeah.
Well, but let's be frank, right? She was an older woman. You were still quite young, and you had a roving eye, and soon an affair, right, with someone who shared a certain lust for sexual adventure. Is that fair, Alicia?
Enter Alicia Youngblood, a young woman Smith met at work. Smith told police they started off as drinking buddies. Then things progressed.
This crazy sex thing, it was just something that was happening and I delved into it. It was interesting for me that I had someone that I could do something and they would respond to it.
Right.
I think that's what the main thing is. She was responsive to it.
You say there was a bit of rough stuff, right? She liked to be slapped around a little, choked, suffocated.
Yes,
Right.
but it wasn't every time. She liked to see and hear stories about violence. That turned her on. That's what got the engine going.
And this is all illicit, which probably made it even more exciting, right? Because you were married.
Well, yes. The secrecy side of it, yes.
Yeah. Soon, it sounds like the two of you were trying to outdo each other and coming up with mock sexual and violent role play scenarios, right?
Yes. She would tell me about her criminal history. I knew they were not true stories. She would tell me that she'd been chased across America by the FBI, and she was part of a gang that used to rob banks. It's not real, but that's where the whole murder thing started coming in.
And you played along?
So one day I said to her, well, I've also killed somebody, so I've also got a story, and it turned her on massively. It worked. She loved me making up stories like that. If any woman goes to any man and says, say this or do this, and I'll get horny, that guy's gonna do it.
By day, Smith says, he and his wife kept up a loving, if passionless, marriage.
It sounds like you did sort of slip into a kind of a double life. The Brian, who's the dutiful husband on the straight and narrow, and then, on the other hand, a reckless kind of alter ego, right? The one who would drive into the night looking for cheap sex.
By night, Smith would troll the streets of Anchorage, in his black pickup truck.
I did go out, but it wasn't for going out for sex. Basically, I was having a very stressful life, and I would drink a glass of whiskey just before bedtime. Then that would be midnight. And if that didn't knock me out, sometimes it would give me that, you get your second breath now.
Get a little energy
and
from it.
then I'd say, oh, now I need to go driving.
It was probably about 9:30 at night.
Okay.
And he pulls up, and I was homeless, living in a tent, and it was raining that night. And he goes, well, it's raining. You want to ride around with me? And, and I was like, sure.
Valerie Kassler was on the street one night when Smith drove by. He told her he was looking for a certain young working girl and asked her to help.
You know the streets.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're a pretty good judge of character. What was your first impression?
He was nice. We went everywhere. We hung out out at the airport and watched the planes and stuff. I was with him till about 5, 6 in the morning.
All night long?
Yeah.
When Smith stopped at a gas station to use the ATM, Kassler found herself alone in his car.
That's when I dropped my phone.
In the car?
In his truck, yeah.
You were in the front passenger seat?
Yeah. And when I reached down, I grabbed 2 phones. And you get that chill feeling,
You just got a vibe from it?
Yeah.
A feeling?
Yeah, that something was not right.
With Smith still inside, Kassler pocketed his cell phone, a decision on which the entire case would hinge.
I went back to my tent and I turned it on, looked to see if I recognize any phone numbers or if I recognize anybody on the pictures, and that's when I found it.
You need to die, bitch.
That's a sick mother.
In the fall of 2019, in a tent in the woods around Anchorage, Alaska, Valerie Kassler took out a phone she had stolen from Brian Stephen Smith's car and pressed play.
You need to die, bitch.
What did you see at first?
Him talking and his voice and her body laying on the floor of the hotel.
She was alive, though, at that point.
Yeah. And he stepped on her throat and he said,